Hello everybody, welcome back to Inside Man United. I'm actually recording this directly after the match, but it should be going out in the morning. So, yet another disappointing European night for Erik Ten Hag's men, and it's hard to know where to start, but we're going to cover 4 things we learned from tonight's match. United came into this game having to win. Copenhagen 4, United 3, yet another high-scoring European night where Man United find themselves on the losing side once again. And from a game where we were in such cruise control early on, 2 early goals, bang, bang, very dominant. I mean, I was screaming on the couch, that's more like it. Thank God. I was tweeting. It's nice to see that we're comfortable in a game, that we've taken an early lead. We're not struggling. We're not panicking. We're not having to go 100 miles an hour to try and recover something in the last half an hour. It all just seemed a bit too good to be true. And the first point I'm going to make of our 4 is awful luck. The game tonight summed up what I think a lot of people have been feeling about football in general the last few weeks and months. I think fans from every team have felt majorly aggrieved at the decisions being made. Every fan's whinge and moan and bitch about decisions that don't go their way. It's part and parcel of the game. It's our right as fans. But there has to come a stage where you start looking at things and go, this isn't football anymore. This is ridiculous. And an awful lot of it is cowardice on the part of footballing governing bodies trying to protect its referees. Now, referees they're like cops. They'll never tell on each other. They'll never disagree with one another in public. They protect each other. Much like cops, because everyone else doesn't like us, we have to protect each other. And the referee tonight was appalling. Now, you might say he's hamstrung by the rules, and that might be the case as well, where these guys are just agents of idiots. But refereeing has now... See, people are blaming VAR. I think what VAR has done has exposed the deficiencies and the ineptitude in the higher echelons of the footballing authorities, where the rules have not caught up or advanced along with the technology that's being applied. Rules being made by people who have never played the game at the professional level. Bureaucrats and sycophants that are in positions of power coming up with rules, applying it to a game they've never played at the very top level. Video evidence should make things as open and shut, black and white, as you can imagine. It's the most powerful and damning evidence in the court of law, and it should be so in the court of footballing decisions as well. Yet what has happened is a lot of other sports have video technology and it works without a hitch. Yet football seems to just stumble around the place wondering what the hell is going on, with everyone blaming it's VAR's fault. It's not VAR's fault. That's like blaming money for the drug problem. If there was no money, people wouldn't sell drugs to have money. It's just, it doesn't make sense, the argument. It's dumb. The rules and how they're applied are just crazy now. With the footballing body coming up with these blanket rules, and then you hear commentators going, well, as it's been written in the rules, so the referee has no choice here, as it is written, and so it says in the law, as if these are some sort of laws that have come down on stone tablets from heaven, and we're just supposed to see these as sacrosanct. These are rules made by men to protect their own, and not to protect football players, but to protect referees. Referees now are having to enforce rules that simply can't apply to every situation. There needs to be flexibility, but they'll never give referees flexibility for rules, because everything needs to be very black and white, cut and dry, because then they're accused of bias, or they're accused of making the wrong decision, or they're accused of ineptitude. So these rules are there to protect referees from ever kind of having to make a decent decision. where it's just, well, that's the way it is in the book, so I have to apply it. Marcus Rashford's stamp. Everyone was even saying, we know he didn't do it on purpose, but still, it's dangerous play. Number one, it was a stamp with the top of his boot. So it wasn't with the heel. It wasn't with the arch of the foot. It was with the tip of the boot. So you weren't going to be able to get that much power in it. Secondly, he was already going to plant his foot, and then the Copenhagen player almost slides his leg underneath as it's going down onto the ground, and he kind of stamps or rakes it. There is no way in hell that's a red card. And I would have said the same had the tables been turned. Like, I'm quite fair with this type of stuff. I just want to see football officiated correctly. The bad luck United had in this game, the handball from Harry Maguire was outrageous. And the handball from Copenhagen, again, was outrageous. It was so bad. It was so poor. And the ref seemed to want to be the celebrity tonight, blowing his whistle. This is off. That's not allowed. That's a penalty. That's a foul. That's this. I mean, some of the decisions during this game were really, really poor. And United, yet again, suffering. I tweeted earlier in the game, for once, United benefiting from poor officiating. When we got, was it the first or second goal? I can't quite remember now. There was just so much crap to remember from this game. But it was a bad decision against Copenhagen. But I was obviously glad to see us benefit from a bad decision, because they've always gone against us this season. And they have. We're 5 goals down because of VAR decisions. We have the worst VAR decision record in the league by quite some distance. And we've just not had a single stroke of luck at all this season. Between injuries, scandals, absolutely shocking refereeing decisions. I mean, at least with video evidence and the rules, it's at least if it's going to be consistently bad, it should be consistently bad for everyone. But it's not. Stuff that's given against United is given for other teams in different matches under the exact same scenario. So human error has not been eliminated. It's still coming down to personal opinion and decision. And United were so in control of this game until Rashford was sent off. It was really, really poor. And I think this is going to go. I think this is one of those seasons where I don't think this is going to get any better before the end of the season. I think it's going to be one of those years we look back on in years from now and just go, remember that year, remember that season where just everything went wrong for whatever reason. Hopefully we're getting it all out of our system in one season, so it's not spread over 3 or 4 seasons. That would be nice. But yeah, a lot of bad luck tonight, and I don't think we can blame Erik Ten Hag for this result. Secondly, it's a lack of maturity and leadership and a winning mentality to see these games out. I did see fight from United today. You could see determination in that team. This team can play well, and there was a determination from this team to play well tonight and to get a good result away from home against a tricky enough opponent. Copenhagen, they are minnows in the Champions League, but they gave us a tricky test at Old Trafford, and you know we're going to their stadium, and they would need the win, and we were dominating them, toying with them. They made mistakes. They were nervous. We were capitalizing on everything. We were passing it well, controlling it well, defending well, moving through the lines correctly, creating chances. Højlund showing huge amounts of maturity and hopefully putting the doubters on the back foot for a while at least. He's continuing his great European form, not really able to replicate it in the league so far, but I don't think that's down to him. I think that's more down to the support network around him, trying to provide him opportunities. But they did well today. Garnacho was fantastic in his link-up play with him, very dangerous, and we were cruising until that red card. And even with the red card and even with some of the poor decisions, there was plenty of opportunity for United to see this game out. We can sit there and bemoan referees and poor decisions and VAR and refereeing and rule books. United should still have had enough to see this game out, and we didn't. Bruno had an okay game. He took his penalty well, but a captain's job is to ensure a team keeps their head. And too often this season, United concede goals in very quick succession or very soon after they've shook the opponent's net with the ball. So there's always two goals very close to one another, whether it's United scoring one, then the opponent, or the opponent getting one and then another one soon afterwards. Anytime we face a little bit of adversity in game, whether it's a penalty or a poor decision, a disallowed goal, it seems to affect us quite badly. And teams usually represent the captains are usually a good representative of a team oftentimes. And Bruno does kind of suffer from not taking adversity well. He kind of throws strops. He gets moody. He doesn't know how to handle it sometimes and reacts with a lot of immaturity. And that's okay on an individual level. But when you're a captain and your team sees you doing that, this year has been the worst year I've ever seen, with United conceding goals so soon after scoring, or conceding a goal very soon after a bad decision, a disallowed goal, a decision that hasn't gone our way. And if we concede a goal, we concede another one very soon afterwards. And it happened again tonight. And I'm not going to try and stick the boot in on Bruno Fernandes all the time. He was okay tonight. He took his penalty really well. But tonight was an opportunity for him to show his nous as a captain, to calm people down, to make sure we were able to get something from this game. At 2-0 up, even when you lose a player, you need to see that game out. And they conceded 4 goals. Now, I heard an interesting stat that if you're down to 10 men away from home, there's a 14% chance you'll win the game. So you're up against it a lot. And United had the deck stacked against them big time tonight, but I think there was still plenty of opportunities for them to be able to see this game out. So I think a lack of leadership and a strategic nous let them down. Thirdly is defensively frail. The one upside of Varane coming on today was the fact that in the face of defeat, the anti-Ten Hagites, the anti-Ten Haganators, or whatever the hell you want to call them, they would be rounding on Ten Hag for not playing Varane, saying he's treating Varane like he is Sancho. Something's up with Varane. He's been dropped for some reason. He was fit enough to come on as a sub and finish out the game. I don't see in a world in which Ten Hag desperately needs victories and to be playing his best players in a team where his defence has been absolutely savaged. Both in terms of injuries and in terms of goals conceded this year. He needed his best players today, and Varane still was on the bench, despite being fit enough to play. There's no universe in which Varane doesn't start ahead of Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire in a must-win European tie. And he's been dropped. Something's happened between him and Varane. I don't know what it is, whether Varane has been mouthing off. He was caught doing something, disciplinary issues. I don't know, but it looks quite clear. But then Varane came on and was awful. Absolutely awful. So that's one less stick to beat Ten Hag with. Varane was very poor. Diogo Dalot, to me, and he confirmed it to me games ago, he is not anywhere close to being United standard. And there's a lot of Dalot fanboys out there just because he's a first teamer for Portugal and a good Portuguese side. Everyone seems to think Dalot is this great player. Dalot's a poor footballer for the elite level. He's definitely a Premier League standard player. Dalot's the type of guy that will play well for 80% of the game. And people go, oh, see, look, he's a good player. Look at him doing this. Look at him doing that. Oh, great tackle. But the 20% that he switches off, he'll lose you the game single-handedly. He is on countless occasions this season lost his man. He will see his man, and then look at the ball, and then just assume the player behind him is going to be in the same position and not move for reasons I can't explain. There's the player. Great. Now there's the ball. Now I know where everything is. Now I can begin defending. Oh, where'd the guy go? I thought he was going to stay there. He does it countless times. He's a ball watcher. He loses his man. I was at Old Trafford for the Lens pre-season game, and he did it 3 times in the first half. Completely didn't see the opposing player he was supposed to mark. He was at fault, partially at fault for one, entirely at fault for another, and nowhere near his man when we're trying to defend for our lives and there's a player 6-7 yards from him and he's just in no man's land. He's not affecting the area where he's watching the ball. and he's not keeping an eye on the man in the space where there's danger. He was literally not doing either. He wasn't even committed to doing the wrong thing. He wasn't committed to that, and he wasn't committed to the other. He was just kind of non-committal to both. It was... Diogo Dalot is not good enough to play for Manchester United. He's not even good enough as a backup. He shows ability to play to the standard, but United is littered with players that have shown an ability to play to a standard good enough for an elite team, but they don't do it often enough. It's the consistency. And this defence is so often caught out through individual errors, whether it's Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, Varane was at fault today, Diogo Dalot consistently. We need defenders badly, and I think that's where we need to make some additions in January. Hopefully, Antonio Silva or Jean-Claire Todibo. I don't know which player it needs to be, or players. I think we need 2 centre-halves, if I'm being totally honest. But then, even Harry Maguire with the handling of the ball, he almost nearly handled it twice. I thought the decision was really ridiculous and harsh. But it's like, okay, again, Harry, again, one of our defenders doing something that can be put up to scrutiny. It's just like, Jesus, come on, lads. And even at 2-0 up, there was a part of me thinking, wow, how are we going to mess this up? Do you remember there were the days when we'd go 1 or 2-0 down, you'd be like, oh, we'll get this back. Well, and even if we didn't, it didn't shake our belief that in the next game that we went down, we'd be like, no, we can come back from this. Even at 2-0 up today, I was like, I wonder how we're going to mess this up. And we were cruising, and I felt uneasy. I was like, this is too good. This team is going to let me down. And bang, crap red, poor decisions, individual errors, Copenhagen 4, Manchester United 3. You're just thinking to yourself, Jesus Christ, of course this happened. Absolutely nuts. Lastly, let's end it on a positive note. Rasmus Højlund and our other young players. Garnacho was great tonight. I thought he linked up very well and took his start in a very important game very well. He was lively, creating chances, very kind of active and dynamic and moving all around the place, beating men, taking people on, dribbling, passing, 1-2s. I thought he was fantastic. I really did. Rasmus Højlund, 2 goals, bang, bang, showing that when he's given the right supply and when people are playing well in the supporting roles that they're there to execute, that he can get goals. And I was very encouraged, and he deserved something out of the game today with how well he came out of the blocks. And I think once Rashford got sent off, his ability to influence the game was massively diminished in terms of, they could double up on him, they could double up on Garnacho. The supply lines are just choked once that happens. And, he deserved more. But 2 goals, very, very encouraging. I was watching the game tonight with my missus, and when the Rooney lad from Copenhagen, Rooney Bargi, I think his name is, during the preview for the game at Old Trafford against Copenhagen, I'd identified him as the key player. Now, I don't know why he didn't start today, because he's been one of their absolute standout performers this season. I think he came on the 65th minute. I remember nudging my missus going, this fella's going to hurt us. He's so dangerous. And she was like, oh, really? Who's this lad? And I was like, Bruni Bargi. He's an absolute killer, this guy. Number 40, I think he was wearing. And sure enough, absolutely wellied that ball into the back of the net and capitalised on Dalot's mistake. Great little player. Maybe one for us to keep an eye on that right-hand side. Very, very tidy player. Very young, 20. Definitely one for the future, and has been ripping it up in the Danish league. So definitely one to keep an eye on for United, I think. But Rasmus Højlund, very, very encouraging. Garnacho was excellent as well. I thought the team up until the red card had been playing quite well. McTominay was very busy, very dangerous in the box. I don't give compliments to McTominay lightly, but credit where it's due. He played well. Onana was reasonably good. Just our defence, yet again, a lack of a winning mentality, a lack of control, a lack of game intelligence, of nerve, and I think we created our own bad luck in many ways as well. All the the cards were stacked against us today. But I think there was a lack of professionalism in our approach to the pressure we were put under, and anything that could go wrong did go wrong, and we reacted poorly to that. And yeah, bit of a shame. But roll on Luton on the weekend. I think I'm very encouraged by the performance. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think Ten Hag is bulletproof after this evening. I think he was terribly unlucky. Another kind of fear from this game is Amrabat. I think Amrabat was shockingly bad, giving the ball away, being very naive in how close players were to him, very wayward with his passing, almost kind of presumptuous or lackadaisical about how much time he had and the angles of his passes. It was just poor. And a lot of people were very excited about Amrabat when he was coming in, that he was this missing piece of midfield. He had the kind of perfect blend of steel and passing range and a great engine, covers a huge amount of ground, more ground than any other player on the pitch. Usually when he plays, he's all over the place, and just a very, dynamic box-to-box number 8 midfielder with a huge amount in his locker, that he was going to be able to bring this team to help unlock other players, to help Casemiro, to help Bruno, to help Eriksen, to, combine well with defenders and attackers. He was going to be, there was a lot of noise, and I bought into it, but he has been thoroughly disappointing in the opportunities he's been given. And it's a shame, because I think a lot of people were really, really hoping he could come good, and he still could. I'm not going to write him off just yet. We remember how many other players, had slow starts to their careers, like Patrice Evra, Nemanja Vidic. I mean, even Drogba, when he first went to Chelsea, he was quite poor in the beginning. So, I mean, everyone needs at least a season to get their feet under them. But what I've seen so far is an alarming lack of basics from Amrabat. So, but like I said, we'll finish on the positive, which is Rasmus Højlund, and I think overall there was many players on that team that played well tonight, and I think we're taking some decent form off that game into Luton at the weekend, and think that we'll have a point to prove. I still see unity and fight in that team. Ten Hag had some very positive comments after the game, saying we were controlling the game, we were playing well, and it was bad luck that went against us. I think even if there were individual errors, he's not going to focus on that, not now, not publicly. But I'm very confident ahead of that Luton game. I think that's going to be another 3 points in the bag. And it's not all doom and gloom. I did think that we were just going to be out if we got nothing from that game, but we've got 2 games left. We can finish the group with 10 points. We're level on points, even in last place. All of us have 4 points apiece. If we beat Galatasaray and then we beat Bayern Munich, who might be resting players because they'll have maximum points going into that, they won't be able to come anywhere but first. And Galatasaray and Copenhagen will have something to play for, whether it's coming second or coming third and getting that Europa place. So they're going to be going at each other as well. So there could hopefully be a draw there. And United get a draw against Munich and beat Galatasaray. That could be enough to see us through. Maybe undeserving after 3 losses, but, I'll take whatever we can get at this stage. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Daily News to give you the updates of everything going on at Old Trafford. Thanks for joining me. See you on the next one.